The baby's chest isn't moving. 12 sets of gloves, latex stretched tight over knuckles gone white from pressure, hover above a silver thermal blanket. The crystal chandelier throws fractured light across the Blackspire Hotel ballroom, turning emergency equipment into shadows that dance against marble walls slick with rain tracked in from outside. Monitor flatline. The sound cuts through expensive silence like a blade through silk. Time of death, the lead paramedic's voice cracks. He's 40, maybe 50, seen everything except this. Deshawn catches his wrist mid-motion. Check again. Sir, we've administered. Check again. The room smells like copper and antiseptic. Somewhere beyond the closed mahogany doors, Ironhaven City screams with sirens, but in here, 12 medical professionals stand frozen around a newborn who stopped breathing 6 minutes ago. Equipment worth more than most people's houses scattered across Italian marble. Monitors that can detect a heartbeat through concrete walls. All of it useless. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Dominic Kade stands 3 feet from his son's body, suit jacket torn at the shoulder, white dress shirt soaked dark at the collar where his scent gland burns. The most feared alpha in the Eastern syndicates, the man who dismantled the Cordova cartel in 72 hours, who buried Marcus Trent alive for touching his shipment, can't make his legs work. His knees locked the moment the monitor went silent. His hands shake so hard he's shoved them in his pockets. This doesn't track, Janelle whispers. She's the youngest paramedic, still has that rookie fear of saying the wrong thing. Baby was viable 20 minutes ago. Heart rate was strong. This just collapsed. Poison, someone mutters. The word drops like a stone in water. Ripples spread. Everyone remembers the gas. The Peace Summit 3 hours ago when masked figures crashed through the skylight and flooded the ballroom with something that smelled like burned plastic and made everyone's eyes water. Dominic survived. His security team survived. But the baby, born 30 minutes into the chaos, dragged into the world screaming while chemical weapons turned the air thick, didn't have fully developed lungs yet. We tried everything. Deshawn strips off his gloves, throws them on the floor. Oxygen, stimulation, epinephrine. The chopper brought in medications that aren't even FDA approved yet. His voice goes hollow. 12 of us, best in the city, and we can't. The doors open. Everyone turns, irritation flashing across exhausted faces, until the scent hits. Omega. But wrong, not the weak, trembling fragility they expect. This scent wraps around the room like warm hands on cold skin, layered with something sharp underneath. Pain, determination, something else no one can name. Tyrell steps through the doorway barefoot, rain-soaked hoodie clinging to a frame that's visibly, heavily pregnant. Water pools under his feet on the marble. His dark skin catches the chandelier light, droplets running down his jaw, his neck, disappearing under fabric plastered to his stomach. His hands tremble once violent, like touching a live wire, then go still. Dominic's breath stops. You, the word tears out of him like something with teeth. You shouldn't be here. Tyrell's eyes lock onto the baby first, then lift to Dominic. The alpha stumbles back half a step, hand flying to his chest like he's been shot. Neither should your son be dying. The room explodes. Sir, this is a restricted medical scene. He's pregnant, Janelle's voice pitches up. This is dangerous, he could go into labor, we can't. Tyrell steps forward anyway, one hand pressed against his stomach as something ripples across his face. Contraction, strong enough to make his jaw clench, his breathing hitch. He swallows it down. Move. Something in that single word, quiet, unbreakable, carrying weight that has nothing to do with volume, cuts through chaos like a knife through fog. Dominic lifts one hand. The gesture is small, absolute. The room obeys. Tyrell drops to his knees beside the baby, ignoring the marble's cold bite. He presses 2 fingers against the tiny chest, barely bigger than his palm, then closes his eyes and breathes in deep. His whole body goes still, listening to something no one else can hear. I can feel him. Tyrell's voice comes out barely above a whisper. He's still here. Dominic shakes his head, eyes wet. They said. They're alphas and humans. Tyrell snaps the words out, then softens. Barely, I'm his Omega. Silence falls so hard it has weight. The truth slams into Dominic like a freight train, going full speed off broken tracks. His Omega. His child. The baby born during an assassination attempt. The infant who shouldn't exist because Tyrell vanished 8 months ago without a word, without a trace, leaving Dominic to wake up alone in sheets that still smelled like him. What secret did Tyrell keep hidden for 8 months that could change everything? Tyrell peels back the silver thermal blanket with hands that don't shake anymore. The baby's skin looks grey under the chandelier light, lips tinged blue, chest motionless, but Tyrell's fingers press against the small ribcage, feeling for something deeper than pulse, deeper than breath, something the monitors can't detect. So you need to step back. Deshawn moves forward, professional instinct overriding shock. You're pregnant, you're in active labor based on those contractions, and this environment is. I know what environment I'm in. Tyrell doesn't look up. I walked through a chemical weapons attack site to get here. You think I don't understand risk? The words land like punches. Janelle glances at Dominic, then back to Tyrell. You're the one who disappeared, everyone thought. Everyone thought wrong. Tyrell's jaw tightens. Another contraction rolls through him, visible in the way his shoulders lock, his breathing goes shallow. He rides it out in silence. When it passes, he looks up at Dominic. You gonna let them keep talking, or you gonna let me save your son? Dominic's throat works. No sound comes out. He nods once. The paramedics exchange looks. 12 professionals who have seen everything from gunshot wounds to overdoses to bodies pulled from the harbor. None of them have seen this. An Omega male, pregnant, barefoot in a crime scene, claiming parental rights to a baby they didn't know existed. Tyrell presses his palm flat against the baby's chest. His other hand goes to his own stomach, fingers splaying across fabric soaked through with rain and something else. When he speaks, his voice carries a certainty that makes the hair on everyone's neck stand up. This baby was poisoned, but not how you think. The gas didn't kill him. It severed the bond. What bond? Janelle asks. Parent to child. Tyrell's eyes stay locked on the infant. Alphas don't feel it the same way. You sense your children through territory, through pack, through dominance. Omegas feel them through here. He presses harder against his own chest, right over his heart. Through blood, through connection. The gas didn't stop his lungs. It cut the lifeline. Deshawn frowns. That's not how respiratory failure works. You're right. Tyrell finally looks up and his eyes are hard. It's not, which is why 12 paramedics with $1 million of equipment couldn't fix it. You were treating symptoms. The cause is something you can't measure. The room goes quiet. Outside, thunder rolls across Ironhaven City. Rain hammers the windows hard enough to rattle the glass in its frames. Dominic steps closer, close enough that his scent, smoke and cedar, alpha dominance barely leashed, wraps around Tyrell. If you knew, he says, voice rough as gravel, if you felt him dying, why did you stay away? Why disappear for 8 months and show up now? Tyrell's hand trembles against the baby's chest, just once. Because your enemies were hunting for an Omega. They knew you'd been with someone. They didn't know who, didn't know I was carrying. He swallows hard. I thought if I vanished, they'd stop looking. Thought you'd be safer if I wasn't a target painted on your back. Safer? Dominic's laugh comes out broken. I tore this city apart looking for you. I know, Tyrell's voice cracks. I felt every search, every raid, every time you got close. Another contraction hits, stronger. His whole body locks up, breath hissing between clenched teeth. When it passes, he's paler, sweating. But they would have killed me to get to you, and they would have killed him, he presses against his stomach, before he was even born. The paramedics stand frozen. This isn't medical training. This is something else. Something raw and human and too intimate for a room full of strangers. But no one moves. Dominic drops to his knees beside Tyrell. His hand hovers over Tyrell's shoulder, not quite touching. What do you need? Tyrell meets his eyes. Permission to do something you're going to hate me for. You have it. You don't know what I'm asking yet. I don't care. Dominic's hand closes on Tyrell's shoulder, grip tight enough to anchor. Save him. Tyrell's next breath shakes. He looks down at the baby, at his son, their son, and something shifts in his expression. Resignation, determination, fear wrapped around steel resolve. Neither should your son be dying, Tyrell had said at the door. Now everyone understands what he meant. What desperate act is Tyrell willing to commit to bring the baby back from death's edge? Tyrell's fingers find the baby's wrist, pressing against skin that feels too cold, too still. I can feel him, Tyrell repeats, but this time his voice carries weight that wasn't there before, certainty layered over desperation. He's not gone, he's just disconnected. Deshawn crouches down, professional curiosity overriding protocol. What do you mean, disconnected? Omega bonds work different than alpha bonds. Tyrell doesn't look away from the baby. Alphas sense their children through territory markers. Scent, presence. Omegas feel them through blood, through heartbeat. It's why pregnant Omegas know when something's wrong before any test shows it. It's why we can sense distress from across a city. That's not scientifically, Janelle starts. I don't care what's scientific. Tyrell's voice stays level, calm. I felt him stop breathing from 3 miles away, felt his heart stutter, felt the bond sever like someone cut a cord inside my chest. He finally looks up. You want to tell me that's impossible? Go ahead, but I'm here, and I felt it. The room stays silent. Rain beats against windows. Somewhere in the hotel, sirens wail. But in this ballroom, under this chandelier, 12 professionals stand frozen around an Omega, claiming something that shouldn't be real. Dominic's hand tightens on Tyrell's shoulder. You said the bond was severed. Can you? His voice breaks. Can you fix it? Yes, Tyrell's answer comes without hesitation, then quieter, but not without cost. What cost? Tyrell shifts, wincing as another contraction rolls through him. Stronger, closer together. His pregnancy is advancing fast, stress and proximity to danger triggering labor responses his body can't ignore. When he speaks again, his words come careful, measured. The bond between parent and child isn't just emotional, it's biological. It's why Omega blood is so valuable on the black market, because it carries pheromones that can stabilize dying patients, calm rabid alphas, ease traumatic injuries. He presses harder against the baby's chest and restarts severed bonds. Understanding crashes through the room like a wave. No, Janelle's voice goes sharp. No, you can't. You're already in labor, you're already compromised, if you open a wound and trigger a bonding response while pregnant. I know what happens, Tyrell cuts her off. I've known since I walked through that door. Then you know it could kill you. Deshawn stands up fast. You trigger a full bonding release while your body's already in active labor. Your system will prioritize the bond over the pregnancy. You could hemorrhage, stroke out, go into cardiac arrest. I know. You'll die. Maybe. Tyrell's hand moves to his own stomach, fingers splaying across the curve. But he'll definitely die if I don't. Dominic makes a sound, low, wounded animal. Don't ask me to choose between you. I'm not asking. Tyrell meets his eyes. I'm telling you what I'm about to do. You can stop me or you can help me, but I'm doing it either way. The chandelier overhead trembles. Somewhere in the building's infrastructure, something groans, aftermath of the gas attack, structural damage no one's assessed yet. The sound echoes through marble and crystal. Tyrell turns back to the baby. His hands move with purpose now, checking placement, checking angles. I need you to understand something, he says, voice steady despite the tremor running through his frame. This bond isn't just about saving him. It's about claiming him, marking him as mine, as ours. He looks up at Dominic. Your enemies tried to kill your heir. They tried to erase your bloodline. If I bond him now, they can't touch him, not without going through me first. You think making yourself a target helps? Dominic's voice comes out raw. I think I've been a target since the moment I disappeared carrying your child. Tyrell's smile holds no humor. I just wasn't here to fight back. Now I am. Another contraction. Tyrell's breath hisses out between clenched teeth, his whole body locking up. When it passes, he's shaking, pale, but his hands stay steady on the baby's chest. I'm his Omega. Tyrell says it like a fact, like gravity, like something that can't be argued with. That means I'm biologically wired to protect him, to sustain him, to die for him if necessary. He swallows hard, and right now, that bond is the only thing keeping him tethered to this world. So either you let me do this, or you watch him slip away while we're all standing here arguing about medical ethics. The silence that follows has teeth. Dominic's hand slides from Tyrell's shoulder to his jaw, tilting his face up. Their eyes lock. Alpha and Omega, father and father, two people who have been apart for 8 months, who have carried secrets and pain and terror, who are now kneeling together over a dying child. If you die, Dominic says, voice breaking, I won't survive it. Then you better make sure I don't. Tyrell leans into the touch for just a moment. 1 breath, 2, then pulls away. Now get everyone back, this is going to get messy. What terrible sacrifice is Tyrell about to make that even medical professionals fear to witness? Tyrell pulls the hoodie off over his head in one motion. The movement reveals skin slick with rain and sweat, a pregnant stomach swollen tight, and along his neck, just above the collarbone, a scent gland that's already inflamed. Swollen, the skin around it flushed dark with blood rushing to the surface. Jesus Christ, Janelle takes a step back. Your gland's already active, you're in pre-bonding state. I know, Tyrell's voice stays level despite the tremor running through his hands. Kicked in the moment I walked in and smelled him. My body knows he's here, knows he's dying, it's trying to reach him. Deshawn moves forward, instinct overriding shock. If your gland's already active and you trigger a full release. I know what happens. Tyrell presses both hands against his stomach now, breathing through another contraction. You don't have to explain biology to me. I've been living in this body for 26 years. Then you know this is suicide. Janelle's voice pitches up. Your body is already prioritizing the pregnancy. If you force a bonding release, it'll try to do both, sustain the baby in your womb and bond with the one dying on the floor. Your system can't handle that kind of demand. You're right, Tyrell's eyes stay locked on the infant. It probably can't. The room goes cold. Dominic grabs Tyrell's wrist, then we find another way. There is no other way. Tyrell turns his hand, threading his fingers through Dominic's. You think I didn't spend 8 months looking? You think I didn't research every medical journal, every black market dealer, every underground Omega clinic in 3 states? His voice goes rough. I know what this costs. I knew before I walked through that door. Then why? Because he's our son. Tyrell says it's simple, final, and I didn't carry him for 8 months just to let him die 3 feet away from me because I was too scared to pay the price. Thunder rolls outside. The chandelier sways, crystals chiming against each other like funeral bells. Dominic's grip tightens. What if I can't let you do this? Then you're choosing to let him die instead. Tyrell pulls his hand free, and I won't forgive you for that, ever. The words land like punches. Dominic rocks back on his heels, something crumbling in his expression. The alpha who rules half the eastern seaboard, who makes men disappear for looking at him wrong, who built an empire on fear and precision, brought to his knees by an Omega who won't back down. Tyrell shifts closer to the baby, ignoring the paramedics still frozen in a half-circle around them. His hands move to his neck, fingers brushing the swollen gland. The touch makes him hiss, pain flaring sharp enough to steal his breath. This is going to hurt, he says, not to anyone in particular, maybe to himself. When I bite the gland, the pain will trigger a full bonding release. Every pheromone I've been producing for the last 8 months, every protective hormone, every life-sustaining chemical, it'll flood out all at once. And kill you in the process. Deshawn's voice is flat. That much chemical dump will send you into shock. Probably, Tyrell's hands steady. But it'll also saturate the room, get into his bloodstream through skin contact, restart the bond. You don't know that, Janelle shakes her head. You're guessing, I'm not guessing, Tyrell's eyes flash. I'm trusting something older than medicine, older than science, older than any of your equipment. He presses his palm over the baby's heart again. I'm trusting that an Omega's bond with their child is strong enough to drag them back from death, because if it's not, his voice breaks, then nothing else matters anyway. Dominic makes a sound low in his throat. You'll hate me for this, Tyrell had said. Now Dominic understands, because he has to choose. Let Tyrell do this and risk losing him, or stop him and guarantee losing their son. There's no good answer, no clean solution, just 2 impossible choices and a clock ticking down with every second the baby's heart stays still. Do it, Dominic's voice comes out wrecked. Do whatever you have to do, I'll deal with the consequences. Tyrell's exhale shakes. You're sure? No, Dominic moves closer, bracketing Tyrell with his body, alpha presence wrapping around Omega vulnerability. But I trust you, so if you say this works, then it works. Tyrell nods once. He pulls the baby closer, one hand under the small head, the other supporting the fragile spine, and positions him against his chest. Skin to skin, heart to heart. The baby's face presses against Tyrell's sternum, right over where his heartbeat still pounds strong and steady. Then Tyrell tilts his head back, exposing his throat. The scent gland pulses visible beneath skin stretched tight, swollen so large it looks like a second heartbeat. When I do this, Tyrell says, voice steady now, don't touch me, don't try to stop the bleeding, let it happen, let the bond form, and whatever you do, he meets Dominic's eyes, don't let go of me. Never, Dominic's hands settle on Tyrell's shoulders, anchoring him, holding him steady. Tyrell takes one more breath, 2, then his hand moves to his neck. And he does the unthinkable. Tyrell's teeth sink into his own scent gland, with precision that speaks of desperation mastered. The sound, wet, sharp, visceral, cuts through the ballroom like a knife through silk. His body locks up, spine going rigid, head snapping back against Dominic's chest. Pain whites out everything else. Pain so massive it has weight, has color, has teeth that tear through nerve endings like fire through dry brush. Blood blooms immediate and hot, spilling down his neck in dark rivulets that soak into the baby's blanket, into Tyrell's skin, into the marble floor beneath them. The scent hits half a second later. Omega pheromones unleashed at full bonding strength. The paramedics stagger back like they've been shoved. Janelle hits the wall, hand flying to her mouth. Deshawn drops to one knee, overwhelmed by a sense so powerful it bypasses rational thought and hits straight into the hindbrain. Even Dominic, Alpha, bonded to Tyrell through 8 months of absence and longing, has to lock his knees to stay upright. The air itself seems to thicken, warm, alive. Tyrell's hand presses his bleeding neck directly against the baby's chest, skin to skin, blood to skin. His other arm locks the infant against him like he's trying to physically pull him back from wherever death is dragging him. His whole body trembles, pain, effort, labor contractions all hitting simultaneously, but his grip never loosens. "Come on," Tyrell gasps, voice raw. "Come on, baby, I'm right here, come back to me." The baby doesn't move. Tyrell's blood soaks through the silver blanket, turning it dark. Pheromones saturate the space so thick everyone can taste them. Life and protection and fierce maternal instinct given chemical form. The chandelier above them sways harder now, crystals chiming discordant as the building's damaged infrastructure protests. This bond isn't just Alpha to Omega, Tyrell chokes out, pressing harder. It's parent to child, blood to blood, life to life. His vision blurs, blood loss or pain or both. You hear me, you're mine, you're ours, and I didn't survive 8 months alone just to lose you now. Dominic's hands tighten on Tyrell's shoulders. Tyrell. Don't, Tyrell's voice cracks. Don't tell me to stop, not yet, not. The baby convulses. It's small, barely visible, just a twitch of limbs gone rigid, a shudder that ripples through the tiny frame, but everyone sees it, everyone freezes. Then the baby's mouth opens. And he screams. The sound is weak, thread-thin, barely louder than a whisper, but it's real, it's alive. It's furious and terrified and brand new, a cry that shouldn't exist, that 12 paramedics had already declared impossible. Monitors explode into activity, beeping, chirping, alarms singing out in mechanical joy, heart rate climbing, oxygen levels rising, brain activity spiking across screens that had flatlined minutes ago. Impossible, someone whispers. But the baby keeps crying, keeps breathing, keeps living despite every medical certainty that said he shouldn't. Tyrell collapses forward, catching himself on one hand before he crushes the baby. Blood still pours from his neck, too much, too fast, but his eyes are locked on the infant now screaming against his chest. His laugh comes out broken, wet with tears and relief, and pain so intense it loops back around to something like joy. "There you are," Tyrell gasps. "There you are, baby, I knew you were still there, I knew." His words cut off, his eyes roll back, his body starts to fold. Dominic catches him before he hits the floor, one arm around Tyrell's chest, the other securing the baby. Deshawn, Janelle, now. The paramedics snap into motion, 12 professionals who have been standing frozen in shock suddenly moving with practiced efficiency. Gauze appears, pressure applied to Tyrell's neck, IV lines prepped, monitors redirected. But Tyrell's grip on the baby never loosens. Even as his consciousness fades, even as blood loss drags him down, his arms stay locked around the infant, protecting, claiming, refusing to let go. "You did it," Dominic whispers against Tyrell's temple, voice breaking. "You did it, he's alive, you can let go now." No, Tyrell forces his eyes open, they're unfocused, glazed with pain. Can't, bond's not finished, need to. The bond formed, Janelle presses Gauze hard against his neck, his vitals are stabilizing, you can rest. No, Tyrell's next breath rattles. Not done, not safe, they'll come back, they'll try again. His fingers curl tighter in the blanket, have to make sure. Tyrell, Dominic cups his face, forcing eye contact. "You're bleeding out, you need to let us help you." After, Tyrell's smile is bloody, delirious. "After I know he's protected." The chandelier groans, thunder shakes the windows, and in the corner of the ballroom, unnoticed by everyone focused on the dying Omega and screaming baby, a shadow moves. Someone was watching the whole time. Someone who didn't expect Tyrell to survive. Someone whose plan just collapsed into chaos, and who won't let it end this way. The question isn't whether the baby lived, it's whether anyone else in this room will survive long enough to see morning. The blood doesn't stop. Janelle presses Gauze against Tyrell's neck for the 3rd time, watching white fabric turn red in seconds. His pulse hammers under her fingertips, too fast, too weak, while the baby screams against his chest, tiny lungs working overtime like they're trying to make up for lost time. "We need to move him." Deshawn already has an IV line ready, blood pressure's dropping. He needs a hospital, surgery, transfusions. "No hospitals," Dominic's voice cuts through the chaos like a blade. "Not until we know who sent the gas." "He's dying." And he'll die faster if we move him into an ambush. Dominic's eyes scan the ballroom, cataloguing exits, shadows, the 12 paramedics who responded to his call. Someone knew about the summit, knew the baby would be here, knew exactly when to strike. The words land heavy. Understanding spreads through the room like poison in water. This wasn't random, this was planned, precise, targeted. Tyrell's fingers dig into the blanket, knuckles gone white. His voice comes out barely a whisper, slurred with blood loss. Wasn't the gas. Everyone turns. What? Dominic leans closer. Wasn't the gas that killed him. Tyrell forces his eyes open, fighting to focus. Gas was distraction. Real weapon was, his breath hitches. Toxin in the air circulation, designed to target newborns, specifically. Another shaky breath. Alphas and adults barely affected, but Barbies. How do you know this? Deshawn's voice goes sharp. Smelled it. Tyrell's hand moves to his stomach, protective even now. When I walked in under the antiseptic, under the rain, chemical signature that doesn't belong. His eyes find Dominic. Someone in your organization knows Omega biology. Knows how bonds work, knew severing it would kill him without leaving evidence. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Janelle's hands still on the gauze. You're saying someone inside Dominic's people did this. Saying someone with access did this. Tyrell coughs, blood flecking his lips. Someone who knew the summit's schedule, knew about the pregnancy, knew I'd left. His grip tightens on the baby. Someone who thought eliminating the heir would destabilize everything. Dominic's jaw locks, his hands curl into fists. Names. Don't know, Tyrell's consciousness wavers, but they're still here, still watching, waiting to see if I survived. His eyes roll toward the corner of the ballroom, waiting to finish what they started. Every head turns. The corner sits empty, dark, nothing but shadows and scattered equipment, but now that Tyrell's pointed it out, the space feels wrong, too still, like something just moved and went perfectly quiet. Deshawn stands slowly, hands raised non-threatening. If someone's there. A phone buzzes. The sound cuts through tension like a gunshot. Everyone freezes. The buzz comes again, insistent, from somewhere near the medical equipment. Janelle moves toward it, lifting a black cell phone someone left on a supply cart. Unknown number, she says. Dominic crosses the space in 3 strides, taking the phone. He answers without speaking. The voice on the other end is male, smooth, carrying an edge of amusement that makes Dominic's teeth grind. Still alive, impressive, though I suppose I shouldn't be surprised. Tyrell always was harder to kill than expected. Who is this? Someone who's been cleaning up your mistakes for 5 years, Dominic. Someone who's watched you build an empire on violence and wondered when you'd realize that empires built on blood always drown in it eventually. A pause. Someone who decided your heir was one mistake too many. The baby's cries echo through the ballroom. Monitors beep. Tyrell's breathing goes shallow. Dominic's voice drops to something lethal. Sealers. The name detonates. Sealer's Crown, second in command, right hand. The man Dominic trusted with territory negotiations, with weapons shipments, with secrets that could bring down governments. The man who stood beside him through cartel wars and federal investigations and hostile takeovers. The man who just tried to murder his son. I told you that Omega was a weakness. Sealers' voice stays level, conversational. Told you attachments make you vulnerable, but you didn't listen. You let him leave, let him carry your child into hiding, and now look where we are. A dying Omega, a compromised operation, and an heir who should have stayed dead. Where are you? Dominic's words come out flat, controlled, the kind of control that precedes extreme violence. Close enough to watch, far enough that you can't stop what's coming next. Sealers laughs, the sound cold. You think saving the baby changes anything. The toxin's still in the building's ventilation, still circulating. In another hour, it'll reach lethal concentration. Anyone still in the black spot dies, including your precious Omega. The line goes dead. Dominic stares at the phone for 3 seconds. Then he throws it hard enough to shatter against marble. Everyone out. His voice carries alpha command so strong several paramedics move before thinking. Now, building's contaminated. We have 60 minutes before. Can't move him. Janelle cuts in, still pressing gauze to Tyrell's neck. He's too unstable. Moving him now triggers cardiac arrest. Staying here kills him anyway. So does leaving. Deshawn's hands work fast, checking Tyrell's vitals. He's in hypovolemic shock. Blood pressure's critical. We move him, his heart stops. We stay, the toxin kills him. There's no good option. Dominic drops back to his knees beside Tyrell, hands framing his face. Tell me what to do. Tyrell's eyes crack open, unfocused, glazed, but his voice comes through clear. Stop him, stop Silas before he hurts anyone else. I'm not leaving you. You have to. Tyrell's hand finds Dominic's wrist, grip weak. Can't let him get away, can't let him think he won. The baby's cries soften to whimpers, exhausted, alive but fragile. Tyrell pulls him closer, protective instinct overriding his own failing body. Dominic's jaw works, his eyes burn. If you die while I'm gone, then you better move fast. Tyrell's smile is bloody, fierce, and make sure he regrets ever touching our son. Who else will Silas destroy before Dominic can stop him? Dominic finds Silas 3 blocks from the Blackspire, standing under a broken streetlight like he's waiting for a cab. No running, no hiding, just standing there in a tailored suit that probably costs more than most people's cars, hands in his pockets, watching rain hammer the pavement, like a man who's already won and knows it. Dominic's security team flanks him, 8 alphas carrying enough firepower to level a city block, but Dominic raises one hand, stopping them cold. This conversation happens without bullets, at least to start. Silas. The man turns. Silas' crown looks exactly like what he is, calculated, controlled, dangerous in ways that don't require physical violence. Mid-40s, dark skin, close-cropped hair going silver at the temples, eyes that assess everything and reveal nothing. Dominic, Silas nods like they're meeting for coffee. Faster than I expected, though I suppose leaving your dying Omega alone shows where your priorities actually lie. Dominic closes the distance between them, stops 3 feet away, close enough to see Silas's pupils dilate, close enough to smell the cologne that can't quite mask nervous sweat. You tried to kill my son. I tried to save your empire. Silas's voice stays level. There's a difference. Explain. Silas pulls his hands from his pockets slowly. No weapons, just open palms. You built your reputation on being untouchable, unmovable. The alpha who doesn't flinch, doesn't break, doesn't let emotions compromise operations. Then you bonded with an Omega. Fine, it happens. Alphas have needs. But when he disappeared and you tore apart 3 states looking for him, Silas shakes his head. That wasn't strength, that was weakness. And weakness in leadership gets people killed. So you decided to kill a baby. I decided to remove a vulnerability. Silas's eyes stay locked on Dominic. That child represents everything wrong with your recent decisions. An heir you can't protect, an Omega you can't control, a family that makes you human instead of the monster this organization needs you to be. Thunder rolls overhead, lightning cracks the sky bright enough to turn shadows sharp as knives. Dominic's voice drops lower. You think being a monster is leadership. I think being feared is survival. Silas steps closer. I've watched empires fall because men like you confused love with strength. Your father understood this. He never let attachments compromise operations, never let sentiment override strategy. That's why he ruled for 30 years. Silas tilts his head. How long do you think you'll last now that everyone knows you have something worth protecting? Long enough to bury you. Silas laughs. The sound echoes off wet concrete. You still don't understand. This isn't about me. This is about what you represent. A new kind of alpha who thinks compassion and power can coexist. Who thinks Omegas deserve protection instead of exploitation, who thinks heirs are treasures instead of targets. He spreads his hands. I'm not the only one who sees that as dangerous. I'm just the one willing to do something about it. Behind Dominic, his security team shifts, weapons ready, waiting for the signal. Dominic doesn't give it. How long have you been planning this? His voice stays controlled. Barely. Since the moment Tyrell disappeared and you lost focus. Silas checks his watch like he has somewhere else to be. 8 months of watching you chase ghosts. 8 months of operations delayed because you were too busy searching for one Omega who clearly didn't want to be found. 8 months of weakness that other organizations noticed. And the toxin. Custom designed, cost me 6 months of favors and $500,000. Silas smiles thin and sharp, targets newborns specifically, severs Omega bonds, leaves no trace in standard autopsies. Perfect weapon for removing heirs without triggering gang wars. His smile widens. Would have worked too if Tyrell had stayed gone like he was supposed to. But he didn't. No, he showed up and did something I didn't account for. Silas's jaw tightens. Self-harm to trigger bonding release. Desperate, reckless, the kind of thing that should have killed him along with the baby. He pauses. I underestimated his willingness to die for your child. Won't make that mistake again. The words hang in rain-soaked air. Dominic's hands curl into fists. You're admitting to attempted murder of a newborn. I'm admitting to strategic elimination of organizational weakness. Sealers straightens his cuffs. And before you reach for that gun your second is holding, consider this, I'm not alone. Half your council agrees with me, they just don't have the spine to say it out loud. Names. Do your own research. Sealers steps back. But know this, Dominic, you can kill me tonight. Put a bullet between my eyes, make an example. But you can't kill the truth. Your organization is fracturing. Half your people think you've gone soft. The other half is waiting to see if you'll prove them wrong. He tilts his head. So what's it going to be? The alpha who rules through fear, or the father who dies protecting weakness? Lightning splits the sky, rain hammers harder. Dominic's security team tenses. 8 alphas ready to tear Sealers apart on command. But Dominic doesn't move, doesn't speak, just stares at the man who tried to murder his son and is now daring him to respond. Sealers mistakes the silence for hesitation. You're not going to kill me, because killing me proves I was right, proves you're reactive instead of strategic, proves. Dominic moves. Fast enough that Sealers doesn't see it coming, fast enough that his security team barely tracks it, one moment standing 3 feet apart. The next, Dominic's hand locked around Sealers' throat, lifting him off the ground against the brick wall behind them. You think I won't kill you because it proves you right. Dominic's voice comes out dead calm. I don't care about proving anything. I care about making sure you never threaten my family again. Sealers claws at the hand crushing his windpipe. His face goes red, purple, his legs kick uselessly. Dominic leans closer. You wanted to know if I've gone soft. Here's your answer. I'm done ruling through fear, done building empires on bodies, done pretending that strength means being a monster. His grip tightens. From now on, I protect what matters, and anyone who threatens that doesn't get a trial, doesn't get a warning, doesn't get mercy. Sealers' eyes bulge, his mouth works, trying to form words that won't come. Dominic releases him. Sealers collapses to the pavement, gasping, coughing, hands flying to his throat. He looks up through rain-soaked vision, confusion and fear finally breaking through that controlled mask. You're not worth killing, Dominic says, but you're also not walking away. He gestures. His security team moves forward. Take him. I want every communication device he owns, every contact, every operation he's run in the last 2 years, and I want names, everyone who knew about this and stayed silent. Sealers struggles, but 8 alphas are 8 too many. They haul him up, weapons pressed to his spine. This isn't over, Sealers chokes out. You can't. It's already over. Dominic turns his back. You just haven't realized you lost yet. He walks away through rain and darkness, leaving Sealers to whatever justice comes next. But questions burn hotter than revenge. How many others in his organization think like Sealers? How many saw the baby as weakness instead of future? How many are waiting for Dominic to fail so they can take what he built? And back at the Black Spire, with toxins still circulating and Tyrell still bleeding, does any of this matter if his family doesn't survive the night? The Black Spire's ventilation system shuts down with a metallic groan that echoes through marble hallways. Dominic hits the main floor running, security team scattering to secure exits while he barrels toward the ballroom. 43 minutes since Sealers' call. 17 minutes before the toxin concentration goes lethal. Not enough time to evacuate. Not enough time to purge the system. Just enough time to make impossible choices. The ballroom doors stand open. Inside, chaos has organized itself into controlled emergency response. Deshawn has Tyrell on a makeshift gurney, 3 medical transport boards strapped together, elevated on equipment cases to keep him off the contaminated floor. IV lines run from both arms. Monitors cluster around him like mechanical guards. The baby sleeps against his chest, wrapped in fresh blankets, vitals steady for the first time since this nightmare started. Janelle looks up when Dominic enters. We can't stay. Toxin levels are climbing. Another 15 minutes and... I know, Dominic crosses to Tyrell, hand finding his shoulder. How bad? Critical, Deshawn doesn't sugarcoat it. He's lost almost 40% of his blood volume. The bonding release triggered cascade organ stress. His body's trying to sustain both the bond and his pregnancy, and it's failing at both. He checks the monitors. We move him, he might die. We stay, he definitely dies. Pick your poison. Tyrell's eyes crack open at Dominic's touch. Barely conscious, barely present, but aware enough to register who's there. Sailors, his voice comes out thread-thin. Contained, talking, giving up everyone who helped him. Dominic's jaw tightens. Half my council knew, did nothing, some actively helped. Tyrell's hand moves weakly toward the baby. They wanted him dead. They wanted me controllable. Dominic leans closer. Thought an air made me vulnerable. Thought caring about you made me weak. His fingers tighten on Tyrell's shoulder. They were wrong. Were they? Tyrell's smile is pale, bitter. Look at us. You're here instead of running your empire. I'm dying because I tried to save him. They might be right. No, the word comes out absolute. Being here isn't weakness, it's choice. Protecting you isn't vulnerability, it's priority. Dominic's other hand cups Tyrell's jaw. I built an empire on fear, on violence, on making people too scared to challenge me. And it worked. For years it worked. But fear doesn't create loyalty. It creates resentment, betrayal, sealers. Thunder shakes the building. The chandelier sways. Crystal chimes against crystal. Tyrell's breathing stutters. What are you saying? I'm saying the empire changes. Tonight, now, Dominic straightens. His voice carries alpha command strong enough to vibrate the air. Deshawn, how long can he survive if we move him? Maybe 20 minutes, maybe less. Hospital's 12 minutes, we can make it. Not with traffic, not with his vitals this unstable, not. Then we don't use roads. Dominic pulls out his phone, dials. Marcus, I need the chopper. Now, Black Spy roof, medical evac. He pauses. I don't care if it's raining. Get it here or find a new job. Janelle's eyes go wide. You can't fly in this weather. The wind's sheer alone. I'm not losing him because we played it safe. Dominic pockets the phone. Get him stabilized for transport. We leave in 5 minutes. The next 5 minutes move like controlled chaos. Deshawn and Janelle work in tandem, securing IV lines, reinforcing the gurney, preparing medications for in-flight emergencies. The other 10 paramedics scatter through the building, evacuating remaining staff, sealing contaminated areas, documenting evidence for investigations that'll come later. Dominic stays beside Tyrell, one hand on his shoulder, the other on the baby, anchoring them both. His alpha presence wraps around them like armor, protective and fierce, and absolutely uncompromising. This is crazy, Tyrell whispers. You're risking everyone, the pilot, your people, yourself, all for. For my family, Dominic cuts him off. Let them think it's weakness. Let them think I've lost focus. I don't care. His eyes lock with Tyrell's. You and him, you're worth more than every territory I control, every deal I've brokered, every enemy I've buried. His voice drops. You're worth burning it all down if that's what it takes to keep you alive. Tyrell's eyes shine, tears or blood loss or something else entirely. When did you become this person? When I watched you bite your own throat to save our son. Dominic's thumb brushes Tyrell's jaw. When I realized that kind of strength, that sacrifice, that's what real power looks like. Not fear, not violence, not control. He swallows hard. Love, protection, choosing someone else over yourself even when it costs everything. The building shudders. Somewhere deep in its infrastructure, something groans. Toxin levels climbing, time running out. Chopper's here, Marcus's voice crackles through the phone. But boss, the weather's getting worse. We have maybe a 10-minute window before. Then we use all 10 minutes. Dominic gestures to Deshawn and Janelle. Move him, carefully, fast. They lift the gurney in practiced unison. Tyrell gasps, pain flaring bright enough to steal consciousness. The baby startles awake, begins crying, weak but real, alive despite everything that tried to kill him. Dominic follows as they navigate through the ballroom, into the elevator, up to the roof where wind and rain turn the world violent. The helicopter waits, rotors already spinning. Marcus in the pilot's seat looking grim. Loading Tyrell takes precision. One wrong move and the gurney tips. One moment of instability and IV lines rip free. But Deshawn and Janelle have done this before. Emergency evacs under fire, under pressure, under impossible conditions. They secure the gurney, secure Tyrell, secure the baby. Dominic climbs in last. Go. The helicopter lifts. Wind catches them sideways, yanking them hard enough that equipment rattles. Marcus fights the controls, jaw locked, sweat running despite the cold. Rain hammers the windshield so hard visibility drops to nothing. Can't see the hospital, Marcus shouts over the engine roar. Then fly blind. Dominic's hand stays locked on Tyrell's shoulder. I don't care how you get us there, just get us there alive. Below them, the Black Spire shrinks, contaminated, poisoned, soon to be condemned and gutted. The building where Dominic built his empire, where he held court, where he became the alpha everyone feared. Now abandoned because protecting two people mattered more than protecting pride. The flight takes 14 minutes, longest 14 minutes of Dominic's life. Tyrell's vitals crash twice, Deshawn bringing him back with medications and sheer stubborn will. The baby screams the entire way, lungs working overtime, alive and furious about it. When they touch down on the hospital roof, medical teams swarm. Tyrell disappears into the building on the gurney, surrounded by doctors shouting orders. The baby goes with him, still crying, still fighting. Dominic stands in the rain, watching them vanish through automatic doors, his suit soaked, his hands shaking, his empire fracturing behind him. But his family alive ahead of him. Janelle appears at his shoulder, equally drenched. You know this changes everything, your organization, your reputation, your... I know, Dominic doesn't look away from those doors. Let it change, let them all see what matters more. Who will stand with him now that he's chosen family over fear? Tyrell wakes to machines beeping and sunlight cutting through blinds. His neck throbs, his whole body aches like he's been hit by a truck, but he's alive, heart beating, lungs working, consciousness returning in waves that bring memory with them. The ballroom, the blood, the baby's cry. He tries to sit up, pain slams him back against pillows. Easy, Dominic's voice comes from beside the bed, you're still healing. Tyrell turns his head. Dominic sits in a chair pulled close, looking like he hasn't slept in days, stubble shadowing his jaw, shirt wrinkled, eyes bloodshot but alert. How long? Tyrell's voice comes out rough. 3 days you've been in and out, surgery to repair the scent gland, transfusions. They had to put you in a medically induced coma while your body stabilized. Dominic leans forward. You almost died, twice. It's the baby. Alive, healthy, eating, sleeping, demanding attention every 2 hours like he owns the place. Dominic's smile is tired but real. He's in the nursery. They wouldn't let me bring him in until you were stable. Relief crashes through Tyrell so hard his eyes burn. And you're okay. Physically fine, everything else. Dominic runs a hand through his hair, working on it. Tyrell studies him, the exhaustion, the weight in his shoulders. What happened after? After I left you bleeding on a ballroom floor to chase down the man who tried to murder our son, Dominic's jaw tightens. Found him, got names, dismantled half my organization. He meets Tyrell's eyes. Sealers talked, gave up everyone. 12 people in my inner circle knew about the attack. 5 actively helped. The rest stayed silent. What did you? Removed them, all of them, publicly, made sure everyone understood that threatening families, mine or anyone else's, is a line no one crosses. Dominic's voice goes flat. Then I restructured everything. No more ruling through fear. No more treating Omegas like property. No more operations that exploit vulnerable people. Tyrell stares. You dismantled your own empire. I changed it. Dominic leans back. Because Sealers was right about one thing, the old way was unsustainable. Fear creates betrayal. Control creates resentment. Power without protection destroys everything eventually. He pauses. You taught me that when you bit your own throat to save him. That's real strength. Real power, sacrifice for something that matters more than yourself. Tyrell's hand moves to his neck, fingers brushing bandages wrapped thick around the gland. Does it hurt, the changes? Financially, yes, lost contracts, lost territory. People who wanted the old Dominic walked away. Dominic's smile turns sharp, but the people who stayed, they're loyal for the right reasons now. Not fear, not obligation, choice. He reaches out, taking Tyrell's hand. I'd rather have 10 people I trust than 100 I control through violence. Tyrell's fingers curl around Dominic's. I left because I thought if I disappeared, your enemies couldn't use me against you, couldn't hurt you through me. You were wrong, Dominic says it gentle. You leaving hurt worse than any enemy could, worse than betrayal, worse than assassination attempts. He squeezes Tyrell's hand. I need you to understand something. You're not a weakness. You're not a vulnerability. You're the only thing that makes this whole empire worth having. Tears spill down Tyrell's face before he can stop them. I was scared. Pregnant and alone and terrified that carrying your child made me a target, that loving you made me dangerous. It made you brave. Dominic moves from the chair to the edge of the bed, careful not to jostle healing injuries. You walked into a chemical weapons site, triggered a bonding release while in active labor, bled out to save our son. His hand cups Tyrell's jaw. That's not weakness, that's the strongest thing I've ever seen. Tyrell laughs, the sound comes out broken. I was so scared. I know, Dominic presses his forehead to Tyrell's. So was I, still am, because now I have 2 people I can't lose. 2 people who matter more than territory or reputation or legacy. His breath shakes. If something happened to you or him. Nothing will. Tyrell's hand finds the back of Dominic's neck. We survived. We're here. We're... A knock interrupts. The door opens. A nurse wheels in a clear bassinet with a tiny bundle inside. Someone's awake and demanding his parents, she says, smiling. Dominic stands crossing to the bassinet. He lifts the baby, so small, so fragile, but alive and squirming, and brings him to Tyrell. Tyrell's arms tremble taking him, but the moment the baby settles against his chest, something clicks into place. The bond formed in blood and desperation hums alive, strong, unbreakable, real. "Hey baby," Tyrell whispers. "Hey, I'm here, I'm right here." The baby's eyes open, dark, alert, looking up at Tyrell like he knows exactly who's holding him. Dominic sits on the bed's edge, one hand on Tyrell's shoulder, the other on the baby's head. "We need to name him." "I was thinking," Tyrell pauses, "what about justice?" Dominic considers. Justice Kade, for what happened, for what changes. For what matters, Tyrell leans into Dominic's touch, for choosing right over easy. They sit like that, three people who shouldn't exist together, who survived poison and betrayal and desperation, watching sunlight turn the hospital room gold. Outside, Ironhaven City moves on, empires shift, power changes hands, but in this room, the only thing that matters is the family breathing together. Alive, protected, chosen. What happens when the world learns that the most feared alpha chose love over fear? 6 months later, Tyrell stands in front of Dominic's council, holding their second son. The conference room falls silent. 20 faces, some familiar, some new after the purge, stare at the Omega who shouldn't be here, who shouldn't have survived, who definitely shouldn't be addressing the syndicate's leadership while visibly postpartum. But here he is anyway. "For those who don't know me," Tyrell says, voice steady, "I'm Tyrell Ashcroft, Dominic's bonded Omega, father to his sons, and as of last week, your new policy advisor for family protection and Omega rights." The silence deepens, uncomfortable, uncertain. Marcus speaks first. He's one of the old guard who stayed, who chose loyalty over fear. "With all due respect, this organization doesn't do social policy. We do territory management, profit protection, strategic operations." "You did," Tyrell shifts justice to his other arm. The baby, 6 months old now, healthy and thriving, gums his fist contentedly. "That changes today." He sets down a folder. Inside, documents that took months to compile, statistics on Omega exploitation, reports on trafficking, evidence of syndicate operations that profit from vulnerable people, numbers that don't lie. "This is what we've been funding," Tyrell says. "Directly or indirectly. Operations that treat Omegas as commodities, families as collateral, children as leverage." He looks around the table. "Some of you knew, some didn't. All of you are complicit now that you've seen the evidence." Lashorn, one of the new council members, brought in after the purge, leans forward. "What exactly are you proposing?" "3 things, Tyrell ticks them off. "First, we divest from any operation that exploits Omegas. Trafficking, forced bonding, coerced breeding programs, done. We pull funding and burn those connections." "That's millions in revenue," someone mutters. "That's blood money," Tyrell counters. "Second, we establish protection networks, safe houses for Omegas escaping abuse, legal aid for custody battles, medical care for bonding trauma. We use our resources to help instead of harm. This isn't charity work." "Third," Tyrell continues, "we change how alphas in this organization treat families. Maternity leave, paternity leave, child care support, no more choosing between career and family. No more punishing people for having lives outside violence." He pauses. "We prove that strength and compassion can coexist." The room erupts, objections fly, budget concerns, territory implications, questions about enforcement and logistics and how any of this aligns with traditional syndicate operations. Dominic lets it rage for 30 seconds, then lifts one hand. Silence falls immediate and absolute. "These changes aren't suggestions," Dominic says. "They're policy, effective immediately. Anyone uncomfortable with the new direction can leave with severance and references. Anyone who stays follows the new rules." His eyes scan the table. Questions. Lashorn raises her hand. "How do we fund this without losing operational capacity?" "We redirect." Tyrell pulls out another folder. "I've identified 12 operations that generate profit through exploitation. We shut those down, we lose about 30% revenue short-term, but we open new opportunities, legitimate businesses that need security, families that need protection, communities that will trade loyalty for safety." He meets her eyes. "Long-term, we build something sustainable instead of something fragile." Marcus frowns. "And if other organizations see this as weakness, if they try to move on our territory?" "They won't," Dominic's voice carries certainty, Because every organization in 3 states watched what happened when someone threatened my family, watched Seela's crown get dismantled, watched 12 council members disappear overnight. He leans forward. Protecting families isn't weakness, it's the strongest possible message. Touch what we value and there's nowhere safe to hide. The council exchanges looks, uncertain, considering. Slowly, one by one, they nod. 6-month trial period, Lashorn suggests. We implement the changes, track results, adjust as needed. Agreed, Dominic stands. Tyrell will coordinate with department heads on specifics. Anyone who has concerns brings them to him directly. He pauses. Anyone who disrespects him answers to me. Clear. Crystal clear. The meeting adjourns. Council members file out, some enthusiastic, some skeptical, all committed. Tyrell stays seated, Justice sleeping against his shoulder now, exhausted from the attention. Dominic crosses to them, hands settling on Tyrell's back. You were incredible. I was terrified. Tyrell's laugh shakes. They all looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Good, you challenged everything they thought they knew. Dominic's fingers traced gentle patterns against Tyrell's spine. That's how change happens, one impossible conversation at a time. Tyrell leans into the touch. Do you think it'll work, all these changes? I think we don't have a choice. Dominic sits beside him. The old way was broken. Seela's proved that. Fear creates enemies. Control creates betrayal. Power built on violence always collapses eventually. He takes Tyrell's free hand. This way, protection over exploitation, loyalty over fear, family over empire, this might actually last. Justice stirs, making small sounds. Tyrell adjusts him, and Dominic's hand joins his, both of them supporting the baby who almost died, who survived because an Omega refused to let him go. What about Justice's brother? Tyrell asks. Have you checked on him? Devon's sleeping, finally. Dominic smiles. He fought naptime for an hour, screamed like someone was murdering him, then passed out mid-cry. Stubborn like his father. Brave like his. Dominic presses a kiss to Tyrell's temple. Both of them are going to grow up in a world where being an Omega isn't a liability, where having a family isn't weakness, where power means protecting people instead of controlling them. Because of what happened that night. Because of what you did that night, Dominic corrects. 12 paramedics failed. The most advanced medical equipment in the city failed. But you didn't. You trusted something deeper than science, deeper than logic, and it worked. Tyrell's hand goes to his neck. The scar from the bite healed now, but permanent. A reminder of the price paid, the bond formed, the choice made. The story spread, Dominic continues. Through Ironhaven, through syndicate networks, through communities we've never touched. Everyone knows now, the Omega who saved the Mafia Alpha's baby. The male who bit his own throat to form a bond strong enough to drag a dying infant back from death. He pauses. You've become legend. I don't want to be legend. Tyrell's voice goes soft. I just want to be here, with you, with them, building something that lasts. Then that's what we'll do. Dominic stands, offering his hand. Come on, let's go home. Check on Devon, feed Justice, pretend to be normal for a few hours before the next crisis hits. Tyrell takes the offered hand, letting Dominic pull him up. They walk through the building together, Alpha and Omega, feared boss and the male who changed everything, parents to 2 sons who represent a future no one expected. Outside, Ironhaven City sparkles in afternoon light. The Black Spire stands gutted, condemned, a monument to what was, but around it, new construction rises, safe houses, community centers, legitimate businesses that bear Dominic's protection without bearing his violence. Change is slow, hard, resisted by those who profit from the old ways, but it's happening, one policy at a time, one protected family at a time, one Omega who doesn't have to hide at a time. Justice sleeps against Tyrell's chest, heartbeat steady and strong. The bond between them hums alive, unbreakable, formed in blood and desperation, and love so fierce it refused to let death win. The story of that night became more than survival. It became proof that the bravest act isn't violence or control or dominance. It's sacrifice, it's choosing someone else over yourself. It's biting your own throat because the alternative, watching your child die, is unthinkable. Strength isn't inherited, it's chosen. Power isn't taken, it's earned through protection instead of exploitation. And sometimes, the person everyone underestimates, the pregnant Omega who shouldn't be there, who shouldn't survive, who shouldn't matter, becomes the one who rewrites everything. Not through bloodshed, not through hatred, not through leaving anyone behind, but through refusing to let love become weakness, through proving that family is responsibility, not possession, through showing that the strongest bonds are forged in sacrifice, not fear. The baby lived, the empire changed, and the night 12 paramedics failed became the night an Omega rewrote fate. Tyrell looks up at Dominic, then down at Justice sleeping peacefully. You know what the best part is? What? They'll never be able to use fear against him, because he'll grow up knowing that love is stronger, that family is worth fighting for, that being vulnerable doesn't mean being weak. Tyrell's smile is fierce. We gave him that, a different world, a better one. Dominic pulls them both close. Yeah, we did. And in that moment, with sunlight streaming through windows and their son breathing steady between them, the most feared alpha in the Eastern syndicates, and the Omega who refused to let death win, stand together. Not as boss and subordinate, not as alpha and property, but as partners, parents, proof that even empires built on violence can transform when someone's brave enough to choose love over fear. The end came not with destruction, but with creation, not with loss, but with life, not with the death of one baby, but with the birth of a new way forward. And somewhere in Ironhaven City, 12 paramedics tell the story of the night they couldn't save a life, but an Omega did. The night medicine failed, but love didn't. The night everything changed, because one person refused to give up. That story spreads, grows, becomes the legend Tyrell never wanted but embodies anyway. The Omega who bit his own throat, the father who chose death over losing his son, the man who proved that the most powerful force in any empire isn't fear or control or violence. It's the willingness to bleed for what you love, to sacrifice everything for what matters, to stand in the face of impossible odds and say, not today, not my child, not while I'm still breathing. Thank you for watching this story of sacrifice, strength, and transformation. If this moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently about what real power means, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We share stories that challenge, that inspire, that remind us what it means to choose courage over fear. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts. What would you sacrifice for the people you love? How has someone's bravery changed your life? Your words might inspire someone else who needs to hear them today. Share this story with someone who needs reminded that love isn't weakness, it's the strongest force in the world. Let's build a community that values protection over exploitation, sacrifice over selfishness, and family over fear. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Join us for more stories that matter. See you in the next one.